He asked for my Netflix password, then rented out my house on Airbnb while I was away for medical recovery. He asked for my Netflix password like it was nothing. Just so I can throw something on while I'm here, Mom, Mark said, casual as a yawn, thumbs already flicking across his phone. I was folding a blue throw in the living room, the new one I'd bought so the couch would feel cozy while he stayed. The house smelled like lemon oil and laundry soap. The roses outside were drinking the last of the evening light. Tomorrow I'd check into the rehab center for 2 weeks to get my hip moving again. A tune-up, my surgeon called it. I preferred intermission. The password's written down, I said, nodding toward the kitchen. Inside the little recipe tin, behind the tab that says, cookies. He grinned. That's adorable. But can you just tell me now? I'll forget by the time I get there. I hesitated, then said, Rose Garden 1957. He typed it, no thanks, no smiley face, like it was air he was owed. Wi-Fi too, he added. Same tin. Card says Wi-Fi. You'll also find the garage code and the alarm instructions. Please don't mix them up. I don't want the police here at 3 in the morning again. He laughed. That was one time, Mom. One time is plenty. He wandered to the mantel, pretending to examine the family photos. I could see the phone still open in his hand, the camera app floating over our reflections. New blanket? He asked. It matches the rug, I said. And the fridge is stocked. There's a casserole on the middle shelf. Pot roast in the freezer. I labeled everything. The mail's forwarding to the center, but the paper still lands on the driveway. If you bring it in before 9, Mr. Patel won't call to see if I'm dead. Mark smirked. I'll keep your legend alive. He snapped a quick picture of the living room. Insurance, he said when I looked up. You know, in case something happens. In case what happens? I asked. He was already in the hallway. In the kitchen, the list I'd written for him waited under a ceramic magnet shaped like an apple. To do. Water roses front. Tuesday/Friday back. Wed/Sat. Trash day Thursday a.m. Don't forget the bill in the white envelope. City utilities. Please check some pump after heavy rain. Flip switch on OFF once. He scanned it, then folded it once and tucked it in his back pocket like a receipt. How long again? 2 weeks if everything goes well. You'll be fine, he said and kissed the air near my cheek. His eyes had already moved back to the phone. Mark, I said. I left some cash in the cookie jar for groceries and a gift card for gas. Use the card. Sure, he said, which in Mark language could mean anything from yes to never. We sat at the small table. I poured tea. He drank half a cup and drummed his fingers. You should upgrade your Netflix plan, he said. The basic one is terrible. I like the basic one. Yeah, but if I'm here. You're not moving in, I said, light but firm. He smiled at his cup. Just saying. The garage door hummed as the driver from the rehab center tested the code. I checked the time, then my overnight bag. Phone charger. Paperback. Slippers. I stood too quickly and felt the catch in my hip, that cruel hinge. Mark was suddenly at my elbow, gentler than his jokes ever were. I've got you, he said. For a second he sounded like the boy who used to bring me dandelion bouquets and call them sunflower babies. Thank you, I said. He carried my bag to the door. You sure you don't want me to drive you tomorrow? He asked. I'm sure. You have work. This is easier. I smiled. Besides, you and Netflix have plans. He grinned unfazed. Don't worry about a thing. I'll keep the place from falling apart. At the door I looked back once. The living room was just so, pillows fluffed, blanket smooth, the lamp I loved throwing a warm circle onto the rug. On the coffee table sat the little list of passwords I'd left him anyway, because I am, at heart, a mother who believes reminders are love. Look after the roses, I said. I will. And the neighbors, I added. No parties. Mrs. Patel can see everything from her porch. Mom, I'm 32. People twice that age start parties they can't finish. He snorted. You're funny. Outside the night had cooled. The driver stood by the van, checking his manifest. Mark hugged me, brief and distracted, one arm a pat. His hand slid into his pocket where the folded list rustled. Text me when you get there, he said. I will. And Mark? He met my eyes then, finally. There was a flicker of something I couldn't name. Restlessness, maybe, or simple impatience dressed as concern. Thank you, I said. For what? For staying. He shrugged. It's nothing. It wasn't nothing to me. It was my home, my roses, the stove we saved for. The couch where his father used to fall asleep during football. It was everything. The van door slid shut with a clean click. As we pulled away, I watched him through the window. He stood in the porch light, that halo that makes everyone look softer than they are. He checked his phone. The door opened. Before the van turned the corner, I saw the glow of the living room brighten, as if the house took a breath. At the rehab center, they settled me into a room with a window that faced a parking lot and a maple tree. The nurse, a woman with quick hands and gentle eyes, pinned my chart to the wall. You'll be up in no time, she said. Ice, exercise, patience. The three ugly sisters. Do you have Wi-Fi? I asked. She laughed. Of course. Do you need to call someone? Just a text. I sent Mark a picture of the maple. Made it. Be kind to the roses. He sent back a thumbs up. No words. A second later. What's the Hulu login? I stared at the screen, then typed it out. Maybe streaming would keep him home, quiet, responsible. Maybe I was bargaining with the television. Before lights out, I called the house phone to hear my own answering machine. Habit from the days when the beep meant a voice I loved. It rang and rang. On the fourth ring, it went straight to voicemail, my voice calm and bright. You've reached Margaret. Leave a message. I didn't. I listened to the silence that follows your own words. I told myself it was fine. The roses had water. The fridge was full. The locks were sturdy. Mark had the Netflix password and a list. Nothing dangerous can happen to a house that smells like lemon oil and Sunday mornings. That was the last lie I told myself. The first call came on the third night. I had just finished my evening therapy session. The kind where they make you stand on a padded board and balance like a sailor on a stormy deck. My hip ached, my arms trembled, but the nurse insisted I was making progress. I wanted nothing more than to sink into bed with my book and a cup of chamomile tea. The phone on the side table buzzed. The caller ID glowed. Mrs. Patel. I smiled before I answered. She had been my neighbor for 30 years, the sort of woman who clipped her hedges into perfect squares and never let her recycling bin overflow. Margaret. Her voice was sharp, too sharp for pleasantries. Yes, it's me. How are you, dear? Are you having company tonight? I frowned. Company? I'm away for medical recovery, remember? That's why I'm calling. There are 3 cars parked in front of your garage. Loud music. Young people going in and out. They don't look like family. For a second, I couldn't even process her words. My mind went to Mark. Maybe he'd invited friends for dinner? Maybe cousins? Oh, I said carefully. It must be Mark. He's staying at the house while I'm gone. Probably just guests. Mrs. Patel sniffed through the line. Guests don't stumble across lawns with beer bottles. And one of them, he behaved inappropriately near the garden. Your poor roses. I pressed a hand to my forehead. I'm sure it's just one night. I'll talk to him. Talk to him soon, she said. Before the whole street thinks your house turned into a college dormitory. After we hung up, I sat in silence. I pictured my white garage door, the driveway I'd swept that very morning before leaving, the roses swaying by the porch light. I told myself Mrs. Patel was exaggerating. She was the type to file noise complaints if a lawnmower started at 7 instead of 8. But an unease settled in my stomach. I texted Mark. Everything okay at the house? He replied instantly. Yeah, why? Mrs. Patel said she saw cars out front. Friends stopped by. Nothing big. Don't stress, Mom. I stared at the screen. The last words, don't stress, Mom, felt like a pat on the head, like I was the child. The second call came 2 days later. This time it was Mr. Harlan, the retired firefighter who lived across the street. His voice was gruff, irritated. Margaret, are you hosting a block party without inviting me? I laughed nervously. What do you mean? I mean your driveway's full again. Pickup trucks, hatchbacks, you name it. I counted 6 people carrying coolers into your house. Coolers, Margaret. Unless your son suddenly joined a catering service, I'd say it looks like a party. I swallowed hard. I'll check on it. You do that. Because if the noise doesn't stop by midnight, I'm calling the police. Rehab or not, this is still your property. And you know I respect you, but I won't put up with this circus. My hand shook as I hung up. I called Mark right away. He didn't answer. Straight to voicemail. Mark, it's Mom. Call me back as soon as you get this. Please. I tried again an hour later. Still nothing. I left another message, softer this time. I'm worried, honey. Just tell me what's going on. I need to hear from you. No response. That night I lay awake in the rehab bed, staring at the ceiling tiles patterned like crossword squares. The hallway lights leaked under my door, and the steady beep of a monitor in the next room kept time with my racing thoughts. I remembered the list I had given him. Water the roses, check the sump pump, bring in the paper. Nowhere did it say turn my house into a gathering spot. But maybe Mrs. Patel was overreacting. Maybe Mr. Harlan just didn't like the sight of new cars on the street. I turned on my side, clutching the thin blanket. Mark had always been careless, yes, but not malicious. He wouldn't disrespect the house that way, would he? The third call ended the argument. It was Saturday evening. My hip burned from therapy, but I'd forced myself through it. I had just set a styrofoam cup of lukewarm coffee on the windowsill when my phone rang again. Caller ID. Private number. Hello? A woman's voice answered, slurred but cheerful. Hey. Is this the lady who owns the house on Maple Drive? I froze. Who is this? Sorry, we found your number on a magnet on the fridge. We're renting the place for the weekend, just wanted to ask about the hot tub. Does it get warm, like really warm? 'Cause it's kind of slow right now. My knees went weak. You're renting my house? Yeah, through Airbnb. Great spot, by the way. Love the roses out front. Totally Insta-worthy. She giggled, and in the background I heard music thumping, laughter, glass clinking. Anyway, no worries, we'll figure out the tub. The line clicked dead. For a long moment I couldn't breathe. My hand clutched the phone until my knuckles turned white. Airbnb. My house. My kitchen magnets. Strangers using my hot tub. The coffee spilled onto the windowsill, forgotten. My heart thudded so loud I thought the nurse might hear it down the hall. I whispered into the empty room. What have you done, Mark? A knock at my door. The night nurse, Paula, poked her head in, the soft halo of the hall behind her. You need anything, Miss Margaret? Do you have something stronger than chamomile? I tried to smile. My voice sounded like someone else's. She wheeled in a bin of ice and wrapped my hip with practiced hands. Bad night. Just memories with sharp edges. She checked the monitor, then glanced at my phone where it lay face down. Family drama or the other kind? Family, I said, because the other kind doesn't take your locket. Paula, do you have a computer I could use tomorrow? Something with a bigger screen? We've got a patient lounge with 2 desktops, she said. You can sign up for an hour. Good, I said. I think I need to look something up. After she left, I opened my bedside drawer. Inside, my husband's pocket knife, dulled with years and dish soap, waited among cough drops and a ball of rubber bands. He used to use it to slice twine on mulch bags each spring, hands brown with earth, laughing when the roses tried to bite him. You're feeding strangers now, I whispered to those roses across town. You brave silly things. My phone lit the dark again. A text from Mark at last. Sorry, missed your calls. Busy. Everything's under control. Don't worry about the neighbors, they overreact. Get some rest. Get some rest. He might as well have said, close your eyes while I turn the lights on. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed we need to talk about my house and then erased it. I typed who are those people? And erased that too. I heard my own voice from a dozen past arguments, thin with plea, Mark, please. Mark, stop. Mark, come home. It had never moved him. It only took pieces from me I never got back. Instead I wrote, bring in the paper before 9. Mr. Patel worries. His reply came fast, K. Not will do. Not how's your pain. Just one letter, as spare as his conscience. In the window's reflection I saw an older woman holding a smaller phone, the kind of woman people assume can't tell a streaming service from a smoke alarm. I touched the place on my wrist where the bracelet used to rest and felt the beat of my own pulse. Steady. Stronger than I felt. I forgave him then both times. I smoothed the mess and paid the fees and told myself that suns drift and return. But the part of me that used to bend had hardened around the space he left behind. Under the ache, a decision began to take shape, cool and deliberate as ice. Tomorrow, I would sit at a public computer in a room that smelled like hand sanitizer and old magazines, and I would type my address into a search bar. I would not blink. I would not make excuses. I would go looking for the truth he kept asking me not to see. I turned off the lamp. The maple scratched its gentle warning. In the darkness, the old animal inside me opened one eye and waited. By 10 a.m., I'd signed the clipboard for the patient lounge and eased into a vinyl chair. Paula rolled in a slim hospital laptop, and the kind of smile people save for bad news delivered gently. "Let's get you online," she said, tapping past logins. "What are we searching?" "My address," I said. "And Airbnb." She typed like she was knocking first. The page filled with results. Maps, a tax record, then a bright tile that punched the breath from me. "Charming bungalow near the park, entire home." "That yours?" she asked. "That's my life," I said. "Open it." There was my porch, color-corrected into perfection. Through the window I spotted the new blue throw I'd bought for Mark. Caption: "Relaxing porch for morning coffee." Scroll. The living room appeared. My rug, my lamp, my books rearranged by color like thoughts sorted for strangers. A vase of supermarket daisies where my password list had been. Cozy living room with smart TV and streaming. A flash of our old remote in the frame made me feel ridiculous for recognizing it, and more ridiculous for caring. "Next," I said. My kitchen. The apple magnet, someone's note, brunch 11 a.m. A neat line of red Solo cups beside my ceramic sugar jar. Fully equipped kitchen. Perfect for families and friends. "Friends," I said, the word metallic in my mouth. Paula's finger hovered. "Keep going." "Yes." The bedroom loaded slowly, as if mercy still existed. Sunlight on my quilt. And on the nightstand, my husband's photo in its silver frame, catching a hard little square of light. Under it, master bedroom with cozy vibe. I touched the glass on the screen, a useless instinct to shield him. Zoom. The linens were pulled tighter than I ever bother. A faux fur throw I don't own draped at the foot like rented luxury. My little ceramic dish for earrings sat empty. Twice empty if you count the years. The bathroom came next, towels folded into swans, travel shampoos I never bought. A laminated house rules card politely asking guests not to flush anything creative. Their rules. My house. Back deck. Paula read, scrolling. The cheap string lights Mark once swore he'd never hang now twinkled like a marketing strategy. Hot tub lid cracked open. Private spa under the stars. The caller wasn't lying, I said. We reached the host profile. A blurry hoodie photo, my son's half-smile pretending to be harmless. Host Mark. Badges responsive. Identity verified. He used his real name, Paula murmured. He never imagines consequences, I said. Calendar boxes glowed pink. Booked most weekends, weekday gaps filling in. Nightly rate, cleaning fee, service fee. The numbers stacked until they looked like a dare. Reviews. Kelsey. Loved the roses. Hot tub could be hotter. 4 out of 5. Damon. Great place for the boys. Host super chill. 5 out of 5. Mara. Exactly as pictured. Quiet neighbors. Thanks, Mark. 5 out of 5. Quiet neighbors, Mrs. Patel and Mr. Harlan, pressed into service as amenities. Print, I said. Paula nodded, showed me screenshots too. Drag the box over what you want. And the printer began its soft hum. We clipped the porch, the kitchen, the bedroom with the caption that renamed my marriage a vibe. My husband's face resized for strangers. Email them to yourself? She asked. Paper first, I said. Paper can't vanish when someone gets spooked. She slid the warm pages into a hospital manila folder labeled Patient Education. The dark comedy of it made a small laugh slip out of me. You okay? No, I said. But I'm finished pretending. On the top page I drew a list. Save screenshots to USB. Ask Paula. Call Mrs. Patel, dates, times, plates. Call Mr. Harlan, noise complaints filed. Print city ordinance on short-term rentals. Find lawyer, unlawful subletting, fraud, trespass. Do not warn Mark. Breathe. I clicked contact host and stared at the blank message. Hi Mark, I had a question. Then closed it. Let him think the house is as invisible as the woman who made it. Let him step deeper into his own footprints. Anything else? Paula asked. One more look, I said. I returned to the bedroom photo and traced the silver rectangle with a fingertip. I'm taking you out of the picture, I whispered to my husband. Back where you belong. Paula folded the laptop. Want an arm? I've got it. I stood, testing the repaired hinge in my hip, the folder snug under my arm like a small shield. In the hall, a volunteer pushed a cart of paperbacks past a bulletin board that said today, Patience, icy exercise. I smiled at the order. I preferred a different trinity now, evidence. Law. Silence. The line you cross when denial dies isn't painted. You only know it because the air changes. Mine did. In a hospital lounge that smelled like sanitizer and burnt coffee, with a nurse for a witness and a printer for a choir. On my way back to my room my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Everything good? I looked at the folder, at the yellow highlighter Paula had tucked inside, at my hand steady on the paper. Perfect, I typed. Then I put the phone face down. There are truths you don't announce. You build them page by page until they are the only thing standing. The pages were still warm from the printer. On one of them, under the photo of my bed, the caption glowed. Master bedroom with cozy vibe. Mine. With a vibe. Like a roadside motel. Ice bucket, chain lock, bleach and cheap perfume kissing in the air. Humiliation didn't arrive as anger. It arrived as cold. It started low in my stomach and slid across my shoulders, a damp towel laid on a body that hadn't asked. Not grief, not even rage, just the public stripping of a private life. My books arranged by color for strangers' eyes. The password note vanished, replaced by a vase of grocery store daisies. In the kitchen, a parade of red Solo cups where my sugar jar used to live. In the bathroom, hand towels folded into swans and a laminated card of house rules. House rules. In my house, I could hear the reviews as a fruit flies whine. Quiet neighbors. Host super chill. Neighbors as an amenity. Me as host. As if I'd offered any of this. The worst part wasn't that they slept on my sheets. It was how easily they seized my language, cozy relax, to bless a theft. They were talking about the place my husband and I always entered in silence, turning the radio off at the last light. I saw us painting these walls. Old t-shirts, the radio on the sill, the argument over shade. He wanted cream, I wanted eggshell. We picked a can where both names hid in tiny print. He laughed when a drop rolled from the brush to his nose. On the stair landing he pressed his palm into still wet paint. An accident, and left a blurred handprint. Leave it, he said. So somebody someday knows a person lived here. We left it tucked behind the clock. I wondered if some weekend guest had nudged that clock for a better photo, rubbed a thumb over our ghost and felt nothing. And the roses. His spring religion. He'd slice open mulch bags with the little pocket knife that still sleeps in my drawer, naming each bush like a child. This one's fiery like your mother. This one's stubborn like you. We'd carry coffee onto the porch and watch bees drift from bud to lawn. He'd say, houses don't stand on walls. I'd add, they stand on people. Now the people were gone. The walls were under nightly management. I pictured my kitchen chairs, the ones we bought one at a time, ringed with sticky beer circles. Wet footprints across my rug. A stranger's hand in my recipe drawer. Someone sliding my husband's frame 3 inches to make a shot symmetrical. The cold humiliation thinned into a clean quiet. In it I heard everything. Paper whispering against paper inside the folder. The sweat off the ice pack. Paula's voice down the hall. And sneaking through the old broken phrases, you forget things, Mom. It's just a bridge. Don't stress. The same cadence as just the Netflix password. I touched the printed bedroom photo and withdrew my hand. Paper doesn't keep fingerprints. But I did. I set the pages back into the manila folder with the ridiculous stamp, patient education, and squared the edges. I didn't need to persuade myself anymore. I had seen it. Naming it was the easiest part. My home had been converted into a budget hotel. I had been converted into a button-labeled book now. Paula peeked in. Everything all right? Yes. I said, my voice the weight of a stone. Thank you. Alone again, I studied my list, the line in yellow. Do not warn Mark. That was the only warm thought I owned, silence as a blade. No scenes, no pleading, no explain yourself. Only facts, dates, screenshots, ordinances, license plates, neighbors' statements. No thunder. Paper. I closed the folder and rested it on my knees like a small, serious animal. The maple scraped the window. Sunlight came in narrow bands that made my hip ache honestly. I shifted. The new hinge complained. When I returned, I would strip the beds, boil the linens, rip down those tasteless string lights, put his frame back where it breathes. New locks on day one. Until then, no movement. Let his calendar fill with pink squares. The denser the bookings, the louder the word evidence. I thought of the crooked porch light we installed years ago. We argued about height. Lower so it doesn't blind, he said. Higher so you see the steps, I said. We set it in the middle. Now I knew. There's enough light. I see the steps. I know exactly where he will miss one. The cold stayed, but it turned useful, like ice on a joint. Less swelling, fewer stupid moves. The shock had cooled. What remained was work. The manila folder sat on my lap like a to-do list with a heartbeat. I started with the neighbors. Mrs. Patel answered on the first ring. Margaret. It's me. I need an unneighborly favor. I'm listening. Film from your porch, any guests, cars in my driveway, the lockbox on my rail. If you can, grab license plates. Don't engage, just record. The timestamp will help. And keep a little log for me? A small, satisfied breath. Our doorbell faces your garage. I'll pull clips and text them. And I remember a blue Tacoma from last weekend, dented bumper, plate started with JGP. I prayed him home. Add the prayer to the record, I said, and she actually laughed. Mr. Harlan grunted hello. Jim, would you file noise complaints when it gets bad, and send me the case numbers? Already did, he said. Paper rustled. 2 reports. I'll email the numbers and the officer's name. Also, someone mounted a lockbox on your rail. I know. Please be my eyes, not my bouncer. 30 years a firefighter. I know when to call it in. Evidence straightened my spine. I rolled to the lounge. Paula slid over the hospital laptop like a winning card. I searched the city's short-term rental ordinance and printed what mattered. Permit required, owner presence rules, fines per day. A section that used the word I liked best, prohibited. I highlighted until the lines glowed. Then a lawyer. I didn't want a cousin with opinions, I wanted teeth. I found Anna M. Diaz-Escu. STR violations, trespass, injunctions. Good words. My email read like a police report. Ms. Diaz, I own 1143 Maple Drive. While I'm in postoperative rehab, my adult son listed my entire home on Airbnb without consent. Attachments. Listing screenshots under his name, neighbor's footage, ordinance. There's a lockbox installed. I return Saturday. Bookings continue. Questions. 1. Immediate steps to stop bookings. 2. May police remove guests as trespassers? 3. What documentation do you need from neighbors? I prefer not to warn my son. Thank you. I attached the bedroom photo with master bedroom with cozy vibe, the host profile, Mark in a gray hoodie, his candy pink calendar, and Mrs. Patel's first 2 clips. Men with coolers walking past my roses. Send. 22 minutes later, her reply hit like a gavel. You have clear grounds. If you are sole owner and did not consent, your son's conduct is unlawful subletting. Guests are criminal trespassers. The lockbox is further evidence of unauthorized control. Your city requires permits. The listing appears unpermitted. Administrative violations attached to the operator. And if we act promptly, not to you. Immediate steps. 1. Do not confront or warn. Continue collecting evidence, screens, calendar, neighbor statements, doorbell clips, photos of the lockbox. Keep a contemporaneous log. 2. I will draft a cease and desist to your son and a takedown request to the platform today. 3. Coordinate with local police for trespass. Provide deed ID, my letter, proof of lack of consent. Request an officer at the next check-in. 4. Change locks upon return. Photograph and remove the lockbox. I can file for an emergency injunction to bar further listings and guest access. Call me, no fee for consult. I exhaled. Clear grounds. 2 words, a bridge made of law. Good news. Paula leaned in. Legal news, I said. She wants me to keep being boring. Boring? Screenshots, logs, dates. Paper. Mrs. Patel's texts began marching in. A silver SUV nosing into my drive. A young woman taking a selfie with my porch light. A man in a ball cap tapping the lockbox. 11:06 p.m. 2 men with a case of hard seltzer. Plate J4***7. The last digits blurred by motion and zeal. Mr. Harlan's email arrived with a ping. Case #24-1178. #24-1192. Officer K. Morales. Notes, called 12:14 a.m. Party dispersed 12:47 a.m. I forwarded everything to MS. Diaz, subject line evidence, round 1, and saved a final screenshot for myself. Check-in Saturday 4 p.m. I drew a square around it on paper. An appointment with consequences. Before I closed the laptop, I printed the deed with my name on it and copied my driver's license. Things an officer could hold in a gloved hand while asking strangers to leave. I added a fresh sheet to the log. Tuesday 7:42 p.m. 2 men with coolers, video. 9:11 p.m. Silver SUV arrives, plate partial. 11:06 p.m. Lockbox use video. 12:14 a.m. Police called by Harlan, case hashtag. The folder grew heavier, or maybe I grew steadier. I placed my palm on the cover like I used to settle my husband's shoulder in sleep. Claiming steadying there. Clear grounds, I said to the paper, to the maple at the window, to the hinge in my hip learning its new obedience. Then I underlined the last line on my list. Do not warn Mark. Silence sharpened by proof is not absence. It is aim. He came with supermarket flowers and a sweating cup of artisan coffee in the same plastic bag. The bouquet still wore its price tag. Hey Mom. The smile loaded on his face. How's my favorite patient? Climbing stairs one step at a time, I said. His gaze swept the room. Tray, closet, window. Not the manila folder I'd slid under the blanket by my hip. House is in order, he announced. Don't worry about a thing. Good, I said, polite as a doorman. I brought in the paper. Watered the roses. Front and back. Both, he said, too fast. Anyway, it's been raining. It hasn't, I said, and let the sentence sit. He set the coffee down, dragged the chair closer. Garage code works. I retaped the little instruction card. How resourceful. He grinned. You know me. I do, I thought. I know what a lockbox looks like. I know the color of your calendar squares. So, he said lightly, any update on discharge? No rush, rehab's safer, right? Saturday, I said. A small nerve flickered in his jaw. Saturday at 4 check-in. He covered it with a shrug. If you needed a couple more days, I can hold down the fort. Enjoying the fort? I asked. It's quiet. Mrs. Patel vigilant as ever. Pretty sure she called the cops on a UPS truck. He laughed, watching my phone like it might talk. I moved it under the blanket with the folder. Netflix keeps you company? Great, but your plan is trash. We should upgrade. You mentioned. Paula poked in, badge catching light. Everything okay here? Perfect, Mark said smoothly. Just making sure Mom's got people. She does, Paula said, eyes on me. Ice in 5. Please. He leaned in after she left, voice softened. Mom, really, don't push it. No stairs, no stress. I can handle things. A beat of truth on the lie. Bookings. Schedules. Guess. You've always been accommodating, I said. Exactly. He missed it. Silence stretched until he filled it. Random. Do you still have that silver frame with Dad's photo? I dusted and didn't see it. It's there, I said. Everywhere I didn't. Some things don't move for company. He blinked. What company? Figure of speech. He checked his watch, an expensive face that never told him the time he needed. I should let you rest. You need your strength. For Saturday, I agreed. He stood, placed a cool palm on my foot through the sheet, the touch of someone appraising furniture. You're doing great, Mom. Don't worry about anything. Thank you for staying. I said, the same words I'd said when he took my password like a toll. This time my voice didn't wobble. Inside, you think I'm blind. I've been patient too long. Curtain up soon. At least text me if you need anything. I will. He left. Paula returned with ice. The cubes cracked like small truths. How was our visitor? She asked. Performative, I said. We were a very polite audience. Saturday? Saturday, I said, touching the hidden folder. Locks. Police on standby. No scenes. I set his coffee by the stickered bouquet and watched both go stale. Let that be a metaphor. Then I pulled the blanket higher and rehearsed Act 2. Deed ID Ordnance Attorney's Letter. No improvisation, no raised voices. He'd played his part. I'd learned my lines. At the door I could almost hear his old assurances stacking on the new ones. Don't stress, Mom. I've got it. I smiled to myself. So do I. I told the driver to let me out at the corner. Not in front. He frowned but helped me down. Heat rose off the asphalt. My new hip announced itself with a clean, responsible ache. From halfway down the block I could see the spillover. A silver SUV nosed halfway into my curb cut. A blue Tacoma with a dented bumper idling like it had a temper. Red cups sunning themselves along the gutter. The roses were bright and foolish against it all, shaking in the light breeze like they were applauding the wrong show. The first thump of bass reached me through the pickets. Then laughter high and loose, the kind that always ends with something dropped. Someone shouted, Marco! And a chorus answered, Polo. Water sloshed. My hot tub, their game. Mrs. Patel stood on her porch with a legal pad. She didn't wave. She tilted the pad like a salute. Mr. Harlan appeared behind his screen door. A square silhouette with a phone to his ear. Neighborhood theater, third act. I stayed on the public sidewalk and dialed the non-emergency line with a steadier thumb than I expected. Police dispatch. This is Margaret Lewis, I said. I own 1143 Maple Drive. I'm returning from postoperative rehab and have unauthorized occupants inside my home. Officer Morales has 2 reports on file, case numbers 24-1178 and -1192. My attorney sent a cease and desist to the individual who listed the property without my consent. I have my deed and ID. I'm requesting assistance for criminal trespass. Are you safe, ma'am? Yes. I am on the sidewalk. I will not approach the property. Units are en route. Please remain where you are. I will. I ended the call and opened the folder to the page where Ms. Diaz had highlighted the ordinance. Prohibited. The word flashing at me like a small, kind siren. I took photos. The silver SUV's plate. The dented Tacoma. The lockbox on my rail. Its plastic face blinking a little red light as if proud of itself. A young woman in a white romper came onto my porch to take a selfie with my crooked light. She saw me and lifted her chin. Hi, she chirped, all teeth. We love your. She paused, searching for the right noun. Place. I said nothing. The sidewalk is a boundary and a blessing. Behind the fence, someone turned the volume higher. The bass stepped into my chest and tried to sit down. A man's voice slurred. Dude, this spa is money. And another answered. 5 stars for real. My stomach turned once and righted itself. I held the cane by its throat and looked at my roses. 2 buds lay crushed in the dirt, punched down by a careless heel. My phone buzzed again. 2 minutes out, from a number Ms. Diaz had labeled Morales. Another from her. Remember, no confrontation, no warning. Let officers make the first contact. You will speak last with paper. The sun shoved its way between the fence slats, laying thin gold stripes across the sidewalk. Through the gap I saw the edge of my welcome mat. Someone had flipped it around so the word faced out, greeting the street as if the house were auditioning for new friends. I breathed in through my nose the way the physical therapist taught me, 4 counts in, 6 out. I could smell charcoal, sunscreen, the sweet skunk thread of someone's idea of a good time. I could also smell the lemon oil ghost of my living room from here, as if the house were trying to remember itself. Footsteps behind me. Mr. Harlan came down his walk, stopped a respectful distance away. You good, Margaret? I'm correct, I said. He nodded, satisfied with the grammar of it. From inside the yard. Who moved my seltzer? Laughter. The brief, ugly sound of a can ricocheting off wood. A woman squealed, water splashed. The bass kept its chew-toy rhythm, squeezing the afternoon. Down the block, a hush rolled ahead of the cruiser before I saw it, the way neighborhoods go still when authority approaches. Blue lights kissed the pale sides of parked cars. A siren exhaled once discreetly. The SUV eased to the curb. 2 officers stepped out, one young, one with Morales stitched above his pocket and 2 long shifts behind his eyes. He took in the scene, the cars, the cups, the cluster of heads over my fence, then me straight and small with a folder and a cane. "Ms. Lewis." "Yes," I said, and handed him the deed and my driver's license. "Paper has a dignity, hands don't." He glanced at them, at my face, at the folder's neat tabs. "You're the owner. You did not consent to short-term rental use." "Correct." "Anybody inside who has your permission to be there?" "No." "Okay," he said, like a locksmith says okay to a stubborn door. He jerked his chin to the younger officer, who was already noting plates. "Stay right here for me." I nodded. Mrs. Patel's pen scratched. Mr. Harlan folded his arms and became a porch post. Across the fence the volume dropped a notch as if the song were suddenly shy. I felt the earth under my soles, the new hinge in my hip, the handle of the cane warming under my palm. "Vrema prišlo," I whispered, surprising myself with the language of my grandmother, then said it in the one these kids would understand. "It's time." Officer Morales climbed the steps and knocked, 3 measured raps. "Police. Step outside, please." The music hiccuped, then died. A beat of silence. Then the house exhaled people. A barefoot man burst onto the porch clutching his shoes like a bouquet. A girl in a damp white romper hugged a beach towel, glitter on her collarbone catching the noon sun. Someone cradled a Bluetooth speaker, suddenly shy. Red cups appeared as if they were part of the uniform. "Whoa, what is this?" Shoeboy blinked at the officers, then at me on the sidewalk with my cane and folder. "We rented this place." "From whom?" the younger officer asked, pen ready. "Mark," said Towel Girl, turning her phone so the blurry hoodie profile filled the screen. "Host Mark. He sent the lockbox code. Everyone off the property and onto the sidewalk, please. IDs out. No smoking." They shuffled past the roses, suddenly remembering gravity. Mrs. Patel's pen scribbled briskly from her porch. The lockbox blinked its dim red eye. The door hung open, my crooked porch light haloing the silence. In that pause, a car swung around the corner too fast and braked hard at the curb. My son climbed out, hoodie up, urgency pasted on his face. "Mom." He jogged toward me, hands up as if I were a skittish horse. "Mom, it's not what you think." I met his eyes and felt the familiar tilt of them, spin, soothe, deflect. "I think," I said, my voice level enough to cut. "You're a guest in my house now." "Mom, listen. This is a misunderstanding. You said I could stay. You said the word host yourself last week. Remember? Your memory." "Stop," I said, and the word landed like a door. "You asked for my Netflix password. You did not ask to run a hotel. You installed a lockbox. You listed my entire home. You scheduled strangers to sleep in my bed while I was away for medical recovery. Temporary. It was supposed to help with bills, Mom. You know I'm between clips," Mrs. Patel called sweetly, not looking up. 3 nights of parties. Plates JG47 and PDQ91. If anyone's collecting letters. Mark's jaw twitched. He pointed at the guests. "Guys, it's fine. We can work this out. My mom just..." Officer Morales stepped between us, palm out. "Sir, you'll speak with me. Ms. Lewis will speak last." He turned to me. "Ma'am, your deed and ID again?" I handed them over without looking away from my son. Morales scanned, nodded, then addressed the group. "This property is owned by Ms. Margaret Lewis. She reports she did not consent to short-term rental use. If you are not immediate family with permission, you are trespassing. You will collect your belongings and leave. Refunds are between you and the listing platform. Understood?" Towel Girl looked from me to her phone, as if the app might object. "We really didn't know," she said softly. "I'm sorry." The younger officer handed Mark a printed cease and desist from Ms. Diaz, the heading crisp as a verdict. "You're the listed host. You are directed to cease all advertising, bookings, and occupancy immediately." Mark's eyes skittered over the letter, grasping for footholds. Okay, sure, but can we do this without the spectacle? Mom, people are watching. He tilted his chin toward the neighbors, then lowered his voice. We can talk inside. No, I said. Please. You're upset. You're overreacting. Watch your language, I said. He tried again, smile turned fatherly, voice full of instruction. Mom, rehab is stressful. You might be mixing up conversations. You told me to keep the place alive. This is me keeping it alive. I held up a page from the folder, the bedroom photo with the caption, Master bedroom with cozy vibe. My husband's face in the silver frame catching a triangle of light. You kept it for sale. You kept it available. He flinched like the paper had slapped him. That's just marketing copy. Everyone does it. This isn't everyone, I said. This is mine. Morales cleared his throat. Sir, we're done debating. You will remove the lockbox, provide the key to Ms. Lewis, and leave. If you refuse, we remove it and charge you with criminal mischief in addition to trespass. Choose. Mark's eyes flashed. This is my mom's house. I grew up here. You can't. You aren't on the deed, Morales said, patient as a metronome. And you do not have power of attorney. You have an app. Start unscrewing. For a heartbeat, rage made him tall. Then it drained, leaving the boy I used to rescue from his own homework. He dropped to one knee and fumbled with the lockbox. The little screws clinked on the rail. The device came free, heavier than it looked. He held it up to me like a peace offering. Here, he said. Happy? Not yet, I said. The key. He dug in his pocket, found it, placed it on my palm. Metal met skin with a tiny, perfect weight. Guests, Morales called to the sidewalk. Collect your belongings. Officer Salazar will escort you in one at a time. No further entry today. If anything is missing or damaged, Ms. Lewis will file a report. They nodded, chastened. Towel Girl approached me as she passed. We really are sorry, she said again, eyes bright with actual feeling. It was a pretty house. It still is, I said. Mark lingered. Mom, please. Can we talk? This was to help you. I set money aside for repairs. I was going to surprise you. Surprises are for birthdays, I said. This was theft. That's harsh. Accurate, I said. He glanced at the neighbors, at Morales, at the roses sagging from a crushed bud. You're really going to do this? To me? You did this to me, I said, and softened nothing. And to our home. He opened his mouth again, then closed it, the salesman finally out of script. Morales handed me a small card with a case number. We'll document the scene, ma'am. If you find additional damage, call me. Change your locks today. I will, I said. Mark tried one last angle, the one that always used to work. Mom, I'm your son. I know exactly who you are, I said. And right now you are a guest. Guests leave when the host says so. Mrs. Patel, God bless her, said, Amen. As if we'd reached the end of a hymn. He backed down the steps, the lockbox dangling from his hand like a bad idea finally off the wall. The guests carried their bags to the curb, quiet now, phones tucked away. Officer Salazar did one last sweep and nodded to me. Clear. I climbed the steps slowly, cane finding each rhythm, the key warming in my fist. At the door I paused and looked at my son. He was small in the blue light, a figure at the edge of a story he no longer controlled. I'll send you a list, I said. It will be itemized. For what? He asked, voice thin. Consequences, I said, and turned the key. They read him his rights in the blue wash of the cruiser. The cuffs clicked. A small final sound, and Mark winced like the metal had a memory. Officer Morales recited the charges cleanly. Unlawful subletting, criminal trespass facilitation, fraud related to the lockbox, and false representation. The words didn't rise or fall. They just landed. Mrs. Patel stopped taking notes long enough to cross herself. Mr. Harlan held the screen door open like a curtain at the end of a play. Mom, Mark tried, turning toward me as they guided him down the walk. I kept my palm closed around the key he'd just surrendered. Talk to your attorney, I said. They placed him in the back seat. The cruiser idled, then slid away, quiet as a closing book. Officer Salazar finished his sweep. No occupants, ma'am. Photograph anything you find damaged. Change your locks today. I've already called, I said, nodding toward the end of the block. The locksmith's van was easing up, an honest little ship with a new anchor for my door. Inside, the house smelled like lemons again and a faint, embarrassed sugar from spilled drinks that hadn't quite dared to stain. I moved room to room with the steady rhythm my hip now knew. Cane step step. Bed stripped. Towels bagged. String lights unscrewed and coiled like a confession. I wiped the nightstand, set my husband's silver frame back exactly where the sun finds it at 4, and breathed. The locksmith worked fast. New deadbolt, new handle, new keys pinging like coins in a clean pocket. He handed me 3. Codes changed. Lockbox. He lifted the dead plastic thing from the rail. Trash, I said. He smiled, pleased to be the executioner. On the porch, Officer Morales returned my paperwork. You handled this well, Ms. Lewis. I had help, I said, glancing toward Paula's text. You got this. And Ms. Diaz's last email. Platform removed listing. Cease acknowledged. We'll pursue damages. I lifted the cup, took a slow sip, and set it down on the rail beside the deed. They thought I was a little old lady with no internet. I called the police myself.